created to have some fun together, sharing and singing. So, join and enjoy.
Our love for opera brings us together. Thanks for being with us in this trip.
Welcome to today's program. Today we are dissecting one of the most well known, one of the greatest favorites of all times for the tenor voice. Of course, we are now referring to the aria that appears in the opera Turandot by Maestro Giacomo Puccini. In this section, we will address several very interesting topics around this aria, one of the greatest favorites ever. So let's start with the beginning. I just mentioned that it was composed by Maestro Puccini. Let's keep in mind that, in fact, this is the last opera he would ever compose. He died, he even didn't complete this work. He was in the final scenes when he deceased. So, truth is that we don't know what he was planning, what he was drafting for the finale. Of course, there is people who say that the final version that we everybody know in the hands of his pupil is still a valid closing of the opera, provided that his pupil Alfano made use of the notes Maestro Puccini left. So that would be a separate discussion, a separate conversation. Today we are more keeping our focus on this, the final composition by Maestro Puccini. And now that we have established the order in the compositions of Maestro Puccini and Turandot, let's go back a little to the plot of Turandot. Turandot is a Chinese princess. Of course, there are notes around that say that, if you allow me the expression, Maestro Puccini composed it from his expectation, belief, and, if you allow me, the ignorance of the Chinese world. So this is supposed to happen in the ancient China. Of course, for people, and now that we know that we have a good number of followers in Asia, know that by watching Turandot, they are watching the Western perspective of the Chinese culture. So let's not take Turandot as true or close to real Chinese content. It is the eyes of an Italian, the perspective of Maestro Puccini on what this Chinese story could be, or what he called Chinese, in quotes, story would be about. So Turandot is the princess who promised to never marry a man, even though dozens have tried to never marry a man unless they are able to resolve the three riddles. The one who can provide the answer to the three riddles will marry to her as a prize, but those who fail will pay with his head. So heads will be cut if you fail at answering the three riddles, and Turandot is very happy about this, and her father, the emperor, does not seem to care very much about it. And that's how Calaf, the guy today that we will be keeping our focus today. So Calaf, also a prince, even though he comes from an extinguished empire, is now in the city where Turandot lives, and is able to witness Turandot's appearance, which fully charms him. If you allow me, I think that Calaf was a bit of a gambler, because he wanted, of course, he liked Turandot, and he sees himself marrying a princess, this princess, provided that he is also a prince. But also he likes the challenge of answering the three riddles, and to move ahead with his purpose of getting the princess and the crown, of course, because with the princess comes the crown. He's willing to risk his own life. But now I would like to refer to the post that I had in Ko-fi, our place in Opera We Love Singing, where we are posting our information, our more posts. you will find there, or you may have already read there, that to me, Calaf is a very egocentric guy, a guy who likes to think that everything is around what he wants or what he needs. And we see it because keep in mind that in the first act, when Liu had a very sweet approach to Calaf, Calaf simply tells her, "Ah, non piangere Liu, se in un lontano giorno io ti sorrido." Liu, don't pay too much attention if many days, years ago, I smiled at you. You are nothing but a servant. That's what Calaf basically tells her. I am your prince, you are my servant, you are here but nothing but to provide service to us. So, while for Liu, Calaf is someone she loves a lot, for Calaf, Liu is no one but somebody who has helped him and his father. So, thinking of Nessun Dorma as an aria of love, I think it's of a tender aria is out of place because Calaf is unable to feel love for anybody. At least that's what he has shown us. Of course, it is not believable to say that he loves Turandot because he saw her once when he declared he wanted to marry her, and then he answered the three riddles, and now all of a sudden he turns out to be in love. No, he's not in love. He's maybe in lust and desire, and the willingness to prove his value and his willingness to get away with what he wants. That's who Calaf actually is. And it is this Calaf who, after having resolved the three riddles, now tells Turandot, because now Turandot does not want to keep her promise. Now Turandot says, I know I promised I would marry the man who resolves the three riddles, but now that you resolved them, guess what? Now I don't want to walk ahead. I'm not marrying anyone. But the emperor says, no, my daughter, if you promise it, you have to keep your promise. And Calaf, only to prove again that he is right and that he can get away with it, now tells Turandot, okay, I will not, or you will not be forced to fulfill your promise if you by today in the morning are able to tell my name. Say my name. That's how the former act ends. Dimmi il mio nome. So if you tell me my name, you will be free from your oath. And she has until the morning to discover what his name is. And so, since she is the bad girl of the story, instead of using good espionage techniques, he sends his army to find out, to revolve the whole town to find the name of the stranger. So that later we'll have Liu and the king, the father of Calaf, being captured, but that will be later. Now we are at the moment where Calaf is enjoying, with all his ego flattered, he's enjoying that everybody is looking for his name. And that's how it starts saying Nessun dorma. Nessun dorma is a command. If you want, it is soft, but it is still a command. Nessun dorma means that nobody sleeps. Let nobody sleep. Nessun dorma. Here, pay attention to the fact that the aria, the first Nessun dorma, is written as piano. So whenever you hear a tenor going loud, Nessun dorma, Nessun dorma, then it means that they are not reading the score or that they are showing off instead of paying attention to the writing in the score. The score starts Nessun dorma, Nessun dorma. Tu pure, o principessa, nella tua fredda stanza. Nobody will sleep, that nobody sleeps tonight, but also you, princess, in your cold room. In his command of enjoying that nobody will sleep, he also enjoys thinking that Turandot will not be able to keep her sleeps. Guardi le stelle che tremano d'amore e di speranza. This referring to Turandot. But you, Turandot, who will not be able to sleep as well, in your cold room, look at the stars that are trembling of love and hope. This, by the way, is a very nicely written phrase. If you pay attention to the opening of the aria, it is very nice. Nessun dorma, nessun dorma, tu pure, o principessa, nella tua fredda stanza. Guardi le stelle che tremano d'amore e di speranza. This very first phrase that I have tried to picture for you is where he has shared this nobody sleeps. Saying for you, Turandot, who will be watching the stars who are trembling out of love and hope. Ma il mio mistero è chiuso in me, defying again. This mystery, the mystery of my name, is inside of me. Il nome mio nessun saprà. No, sulla tua bocca lo dirò quando la luce splenderà. Now, from the first part, this sweet opening, we go for a more challenging piece that in fact is very difficult to sing, and I will explain you why. Because now, with a much louder voice, ma il mio mistero è chiuso in me, but this mystery that is enclosed inside of me, il nome mio nessun saprà, nobody will know my name. And of course it has to be sung now, being more openly challenging. Il nome mio nessun saprà, no. And then goes for another difficult passage in the aria. Sulla tua bocca lo dirò. Only this name will be revealed in your mouth, to your mouth, meaning I will tell you with a kiss, I will share quando la luce splenderà, when the light rises. So nobody will know my name. I will reveal it in your mouth when the sun arises. That's what will happen. I was sharing with you that this is in fact a very difficult part of the aria, because now we encounter something that I have described with you in some other episodes, in other seasons, when the singer has to go constantly to a number of notes that are close to the passaggio or high in the upper register continuously with force, with power, with the stamina that makes it very tiring for singing. And that is part of the reason why this aria is more for strong tenor voices, sometimes dramatic tenors, which is a little way too much, but much more for spinto tenors. Remember that the spinto tessitura of a tenor is known for having more power, in fact, for these areas of the voice. A lyrical tenor voice will not be able to get away with this part. Sola tua bocca lo dirò, because it has to be continuously with all the strength, without any hesitation, with all the values of the notes, of the vowels and the consonants there. Because if the voice is not powerful enough, then the tenor will not be able to keep it at a good volume, and either will decrease the notes or will decrease the volume in the fear that his voice will crack. And of course, that is very easy to happen. When you are going to this continuously to this number of notes, to this high of notes that you have to give it power, it is very easy to crack. So, sola tua bocca lo dirò. And pay attention that after going to ta 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 ta, he will diminish the voice, going to a similar wrapping of the phrase as in the first part. You remember that he goes quiet to ed speranza in the first part. He will now say quando la luce splenderà. This part has to be, and it is very important because spinto voices are usually not nice voices. Remember that if you want to have a nice voice, you may refer to the lyric tenors, and it is difficult for voices that are not naturally nice, but the tenor has to make a huge effort to make this that he has to keep for as long as he considers, but it has to sound nice because he comes for la 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 la. If he continues in the same dynamic, he will lose this part. Quando la luce splenderà, it loses all sense if he keeps the luce splenderà. Luce splenderà. And of course, the writing of Puccini, if you are familiar with the writing style of Maestro Puccini, he likes to do this with his long melodies, with his long sustained notes. He wants to get the best out of the singer to see how he can manage. Of course, if you have a poor singer working on it, he will move ahead with the splendor instead of paying attention to the writing of Maestro Puccini, who demands to accentuate it correctly with the splendor. Then we move in the aria, and he says, ed il mio bacio scioglierà il silenzio che ti fa mia. This, let's say, intermediate part of the aria says, and my kiss will dissolve the silence that makes you mine. Remember that the secret is what will be resolved. So my kiss will dissolve that secret that makes you mine. Going back to my interpretation that Mr. Calaf is nothing but an egocentric guy, it is reinforced by this phrase, che ti fa mia. At no point he's saying, because I will love you, because I want to be with you, because anything that points in the direction of love, everything points up to now to the direction of I want to get away with it. I want to make you mine. You will be mine. Ed il mio bacio scioglierà il silenzio. By the way, Maestro Puccini has written scioglierà il silenzio. If again you have a great tenor singing it, it goes for a crescendo until it reaches It starts with a lower volume with Bacio scioglierà il silenzio, diminishes again. It is emphasizing the scioglierà il silenzio che ti fa mia. The dynamic of this part is very important so that a good tenor would understand what he has to do with it. And he has to do something like Ed il mio bacio scioglierà il silenzio che ti fa mia. And right after this phrase, and it is, I think, out of the geniality of Maestro Puccini, that after this phrase, the silenzio che ti fa mia, it's when the female voices of the choir join in, and I think you must really know what part I am referring to, because this is the part that moves so many people. Of course, with a very lovely touching melody by Maestro Puccini, where the chorus says Il nome suo nessun saprà e noi dovrem, ahimè, morir. That's what the female voices are saying. Nobody will know his name, and we must die, we must perish because of that. Because remember that Turandot has commanded that the secret needs to be extracted no matter what the means are. Because Turandot is not willing to fulfill her commitment. And since he is not willing to commit her commitment, she is willing to punish everybody in his royaume in order to, in her case, to get away with it. Funny thing, right? The princess is willing to sacrifice her whole country, her whole town, in order to get away with it, while Calaf is willing to risk the same people only to get away with it. So, to be fair, poor people, because both the princess, Turandot, and the soon-to-be prince, Calaf, both of them are willing to see them as, well, we can get rid of people because they are only serving our purpose. Now, I was saying that at this point, the voices that are now describing the suffering of the people, because remember, they are not allowed to sleep. So while Calaf finds it a good idea of saying, hey, let nobody sleep, there is people who are suffering, and they are the voices that are claiming Il nome suo nessun saprà e noi dovrem morir, ahimè, morir. And the melody that you must be very familiar with, it goes like Il nome suo nessun saprà e noi dovrem morir, ahimè, morir. And of course, try to picture it with, if you know the aria, with a female voice, well, with a group of female voices, which of course make it sound just lovely. Because now we are preparing for the great finale that Maestro Puccini wrote, and that's the second part where the voice of the tenor is challenged, and we go back to the comment that I just made around that this is why this is for a lyrical tenor with lots of stamina and powerful centered voice, or even much better for a spinto voice, because he again will be required to go continuously on a series of high notes with all the power, with all the strength, pretty well sung, and he will be asked to say Di legua un notte tramontate stelle, all'alba vincerò. So, dissipate, O night, run away, hide away, stars, hide away, go away, stars, because in the morning with l'aurora, I will win, I will vanquish. And again, we are being reminded of the fact that for Calaf, this is nothing but about winning. This is not about love. This is about getting away with it. At this point, I would, before we go back to this final part of the area, I would like to leave another thought on this. This is immersed in the opera Turandot that we have been talking about. So, if the tenor is in character and has studied well the role, then at this point he knows that besides being a têtu, as we say in French, an obstinate guy that wants to get away with it, that is egocentric, that does not hesitate to make a full group of people suffer so that he gets away with what he wants. Besides all of that, if you have that in mind, this aria in the opera is not meant to be performed as a singing of love. It is not Rodolfo singing "Que querida manina, tra la 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 la." This is an obstinate prince, an obstinate guy, willing to make people suffer to get away with it. So the voice must be have or transmit this state of mind. That's the state of mind that the voice of the tenor has to communicate. Opposite to what when you have it in concert. By the way, there are not many tenors. In fact, there are very few tenors who would risk to put it into one of their recitals or concerts because they know how risky to sing this live is. Of course, if they record it in a studio, we have mentioned it no number of times before, it is much easier because you have control of everything. The audio engineer will help you getting away with whatever you want. But when you are singing live and you know that you may fall into trouble, that's why many tenors omit to sing this aria live. It sounds beautiful. It is a very beautiful composition, but it is anything but easy. Nice, but not easy at all. And the reason why I'm mentioning this is because if you are lucky enough to have a tenor who is venturing into singing Nessun Dorma live, you will notice that the whole spirit that I mentioned of this egocentric, obstinate prince is not transmitted in the aria when you sing it, when you hear it in a concert. In those places, of course, the tenor gives him the permission of singing it as if he was Rodolfo singing a love song. Rodolfo from La Bohème singing to Mimi, same way they picture Calaf singing to Turandot. Because in a concert where the spirit of the complete aria, of the complete opera has not been transmitted, it is easier to get with it. But let's not think, and sorry if I am insisting on this too much, but let's not think that Nessun Dorma is an aria of love. It is not. It is the aria of a man willing to get away with it. And that's why he says, Di legua notte tramontate stelle all'alba, vincerò, vincerò, vincerò. And before we jump to wrapping with the comments, go back to, I was telling you that this part, very difficult because of the continuously high notes. Di legua notte tramontate stelle. It is difficult not only because they are a series of high notes for the voice of a tenor in the very high limit upper register of his voice, but keep in mind that he is still speaking. He's not, and that is usually the case with female voices, that when they go high, they don't really pronounce anything, they just go for the notes. It is not the tenor that will just sing a note, la 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 la. He has to speak. He has to say di legua notte tramontate stelle, which, by the way, it's very. Thank you very much, Maestro Puccini, because giving presence, giving the right power and position to the male voice. It's easy with a consonant like T. Notice that says Di lengua notte tramontate ste. Of course, I exaggerated this time, but only to show you where he's emphasizing syllables with T. Di lengua notte tramontate stelle. Again, he repeats tramontate stelle, tramontate stelle. And then he goes for the final part. Sorry to insist. Remember that the tenor is actually singing words. That's what makes it even more difficult, because if the tenor has problems with singing between the range of mi and la, which means E and A if you know musical notation, singing all those notes, and besides that pronouncing the legua notte tramontate stelle, the voice would crack. It is very easy to crack. Even you have to have a very good technique and excellent support, and even a much better voice that is solid enough in that area so that you can get away with pronouncing and not cracking your voice. So if you have been lucky enough to hear a tenor singing this part and he has successfully passed that challenge, then he needs to face the final challenge, which is All'alba vincerò. And after All'alba vincerò, in the morning I will win, I will vanquish. Vincerò. I'm pretty sure that people know this final phrase, because this is what everybody's expecting for the tenor to say 3 times. Vincerò, vincerò, vincerò. By the way, if you notice, well, the accent or the notes emphasized by Maestro Puccini are changed in each of the 3 times that the vincerò is repeated. The first time it is a mi, when in the E, in fact, in the first syllable, in the vincerò. Vincerò is the highest note of the word. It is a mi, then it is the C sharp, E, D sharp, and then goes for a B. That's where he emphasizes vincerò, and he keeps it because there is a calderone written there. Vincerò, which means the tenor can keep that E in the vin and the E because of the note. Vincerò. Then the second, he is not emphasizing vincerò, but the high note is the final. The highest note is the final syllable, which is ro. Vincerò. He's emphasizing I will win. I will win. If we try to put it in English, the first vincerò, he insists I will win. The second, I will win. And the third one, he would emphasize the second syllable with the high note, which is a B. He goes for a B. B, and he says vincerò. Of course, that means that the tenor, the long note, by the way, is kept for the final syllable ro. It is kept for a la, that will be an A. So the tenor is really just expected to barely touch the B in the vincerò and keep it, but for the final vincerò, because it is usually more effective when, of course, you have hit the high note, but you keep the final one, even if it is not the highest, that you keep it for longer, because otherwise the tenor will be portrayed as he barely made it. If he says vincerò and raps it, the people or the audience will say, oh, no, he barely made it. But if the tenor does it different, and he says vincerò, and he keeps it for as long as he wants or as long as he can. And by the way, I would like to refer to a problem that I have shared with you in other episodes when I either from the first seasons or more recent. And I remember because I stated it very clear. Personally, that is Ricardo speaking. I really detest when the tenors or when the singers wrap up their final phrase with a so a tenor would do that horrible habit of keeping either you kept the last note when you really had no more breath, or maybe you should have kept it for a little shorter and wrap it up nicely. You can just stop it, seize it, and make it sound nice. Because if you wrap it the other way around, it is not only not nice to hearing, it is also vulgar. Because it's horrible way of wrapping up not only Nessun Dorma but wrapping up any aria ever. But I know you all are developing a nice taste of listening to music, so I hope you agree at this point with me that tenors can do a much better much better job in wrapping up this aria, because everybody is expecting this final vincero, which by the way it's also has a very powerful orchestration in the hands of Maestro Puccini. He really put everything there to make it one of the most spectacular arias ever written. And with the right type of voice singing it, it's just as it is expected. Spectacular. We are wrapping up our episode here. There is more content to be discussed, but that will be only for our gold members who will find it in the room for that episode. Thank you everybody for listening to us, and I will be seeing you soon in another dissection of one of the most well-known arias of the operatic repertoire.
You can follow our channel for the latest updates and more content. Opera We Love Singing, in just one word. Link in the description of the episode.